All right, we're ready to go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cerro Pelado Fire Information Update for April 28th. I'd like to welcome you all here. Tonight, I'd like to really thank the Los Alamos High School. They have done just an amazing job tonight of getting things set up. How many people just love technology here? Okay, not me. I just raised my hand. They have set up, we're broadcasting on Zoom, we're bumping it over to Facebook Live, and we're also presenting up on the big board here so that you folks can see things a little bit better. And they have set that all up. I'd just like to thank Jennifer Gay and her team, and I'd like to thank Los Alamos County and their team for taking care of all that pre-work for us. Your folks have really done a bang-up job. Tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to have a community meeting with a number of speakers regarding the Cerro Pelado fire. We'll start off with an operational update. Our first two presenters will be via Zoom because they're over in Jimenez Springs and they have a meeting to attend rather quickly. So they'll be broadcast over the screen here, and then we'll have an operations update from our operations section chief. Following that, we're going to be speaking with our agency administrators from the U.S. Forest Service, National Park Service, New Mexico State Forestry, and Los Alamos County. And then we will hear from our incident commander, Patrick Pearson, and he will let you know just the big picture of what's going on. I would like you all to please hold your questions until we have had all of our speakers complete their talks, because many of the questions may be answered by a speaker that follows. We will have a Q&A session directly after our speakers finish. Also, we are going to try to keep the meeting down to an hour. We did it the other night, and so that will help out with that just a little bit. If you are watching on Zoom and you have a question, please type it in. We will be able to have that displayed here, and after our speakers that are present here answer, we can go ahead and read some of those questions and see if we can get some answers for you. All right. With that, the Cerro Pelado fire is currently at 6,119 acres, 5% contained, and we have 360 personnel on the fire. We got some good news this afternoon with the lifting of some evacuations and highway closures, and it's going pretty well. So we're going to go ahead and start off now with an operational update from our incident meteorologist Scott Stearns.
Good evening. My name is Scott Stearns. I'm an incident meteorologist with the fire. Primarily because we saw southwest winds. Hang on here just a second. I've got a major echo. Mute the sound. Here we go. All right, yeah, we're good for now. All right, sorry about that, everybody. So again, we're forecasting an elevated fire weather day today. We did see those southwest winds around 10 miles an hour, sustained gusts to 20, 25 at times. And of course, the pretty dry conditions out there with RHs dipping down barely into the single digits, especially in the low elevations. And temperature is still running just a little bit above normal today, several degrees above normal. As we get into tonight, we're still looking at dry conditions. Unfortunately, overnight, And that'll be something that really continues over the next several days. Actually, we don't have much recovery in sight in terms of relative humidities, either during the day or at night. So tomorrow, though, is the big day. We do have a red flag warning in effect from 9 a.m. through 9 p.m. In addition to that, there's also a wind advisory in effect from 9 a.m. through 8 p.m. Again, that's tomorrow. So just want to stress that, you know, the last thing that this area needs is another new fire start. So just be cognizant of that if you're out, especially as we, you know, progress into the weekend and folks are getting out and about. Make sure that you're aware of you know, what you're doing, any impacts that you might have on the forest or the rangeland with these extremely dry conditions. So that being said, tomorrow with those red flag conditions, we are expecting a cold front to move through right around the noon hour, maybe just before that. It looks like we're going to see a wind switch. We'll see northwest winds behind that front, and they'll be fairly strong, not like what we saw about a week ago now, not quite that strong, but we're looking at easily sustained winds, 15 to 20 miles an hour in most places. And we'll see gusts around 35, maybe 40 miles per hour in some of the high terrain. So the good news is we don't have another big wind event in the upcoming forecast. So tomorrow is the big day in those terms. We will have kind of unsettled conditions. And so we could be looking at additional wind switches day to day through early next week. And so again, as I already mentioned, we are going to be keeping those dry conditions at the surface as well. Not much of a chance at all of any precipitation in sight. So that is what I have, and I'd be happy to take any questions from anybody at the end. Thank you.
I got the sidebar, but I didn't get the.
I just don't know where the voice is.
Are you ready for the fire behavior? I can't hear him either, folks.
Yes, Mike, we're ready. Please go ahead.
Okay, great, thanks. As you know, that it's been a very, very dry spring here for everybody, and that's contributing to a lot of the fire situation that we have right now. There is a fire weather advisory, fuels and fire danger advisory for southern New Mexico right now that was just issued yesterday. And those conditions across your state are severe and getting worse, unfortunately. And the fires that we've been seeing, the resistance to containment of what we normally can do and contain fires is not being as effective as it usually is. With the weather event that Scott was talking about, we can expect continued very active fire behavior from this fire and any new starts that we get in the area. We have potential for very active and rapid growth, long range spotting, and the canopies can become involved where there's ladder fuels available. The green trees out there are available for burning, and we can expect to see some of that tomorrow where the fire interacts in those type of areas. particular concerns tomorrow in this fire area for this event would be in that Las Conchas fire scar area. We expect it to receive, quite a bit of wind because of the alignment of the winds that are coming with those drainages and those canyons in there. So the fire is going to have plenty of air, and there's a Haynes index of 6 tomorrow, which means there's going to be a very high dispersion rate, or the ability for the fire to have all the air it needs to grow. So that's a very large concern for us as far as the potential for large fire growth tomorrow on that. Luckily, the fuel continuity in that area is very greatly diminished as far as fine fuels. A lot of the herbaceous fuels, the grasses and things are still just green up from the snow melt. And so they're not completely available for burning, but there are a lot of hazard, heavy fuels, logs and snags and dead trees area. So that's long range. You can until we get some type of moisture relief. This fire and any other fires that we get, especially up here in the mountains, are gonna hold that fire. The organic soils are burning in the forest. All of the dead fuel components, the logs, the sticks, everything's available right now. So it's going to take quite an effort to contain those fires and get active suppression on to be effective. So that's all I've got, and I'll be around till the end of the meeting. I hope y'all heard that.
We did, Mike. Thank you very much.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. Peter Myers, I'm the Ops Section Chief for Southern Area Red Team. So I'm going to be going over what's going on the fire, what it's doing. Like Mike said, is that the weather for the next couple of days tomorrow, we got that dry cold front coming through. We got winds today out of southwest, going to be switching to northwest when the front comes through about 2 o'clock tomorrow. So we're going to got a wind shift, winds up to 40 miles an hour. So for us, that's a red flag day. That's a warning for us. Humidity's 9% tomorrow. Today's humidity's 9%. We got south winds at 10 to 12 today. So let's go over how the fire's setting, what we're doing on the fire. But it's going to be a fire day. So what we're calling Division Alpha is this north and west side of the fire, just north of the SLP community. Over the last couple of days, we have got better weather, which means lower temperatures, higher RHs. So we pretty much went direct with this fire all the way through here, all the way down to the south corner. So we ended up going direct with that, where the weather, the fuel types, the Forest Service and the Park Service had done a lot of fuel treatment around this community, and that really played big into this fire where we go direct with it. It reduces the fuel loading on the ground, so we could go really direct with that. So we did. So that's looking pretty good down through here. We still got a lot of work to do. There's still areas of hot spots along the line, so we got to get out there with hand crews and patrol and continue mopping up or extinguishing any threat to our line. Down here on the southwest corner, we got that tied in about 2 nights ago with a tactical firing operation where we came in off of O Road and used some hand line and went in there and fired off our line to get that whole corner caught and secured, because we didn't want this fire to get west of Forest Road 10 with these southwest winds. It ran back to the community, because that was our main priority, is getting this side buttoned up to protect this community. So that's looking pretty good. All the way down into Zulu, we got it all lined. We went direct in there, used some roads, and so that's looking good. Where we're working the most is over here in Division Romeo, in the Plaza Canyon drainage. We got that tied in into the drainage and up the road, up to 271 road. We got it all fired out, technical firing operation. Got that really looking pretty good. but it'll still a lot of heat along our dozer lines and along the road system. So we got a lot of work left to do in there. We got 3 crews in this area mopping it up right now, securing that line. Over here on the east side, out here in the fire scar of 2011, or the fire footprint, that's where it's most active at. Since in this fire scar, it pretty much took out the canopy in 2011, a lot of snags, so the risk for firefighters coming in here going direct is very high. Because so many dead trees, we can't go in there and get this because it's too hazardous for us to go in there. So what we're doing over here, out here in this fire scar, we're using aviation to kind of calm that down as much as we can. We got what we call our air attack. It's a fixed wing airplane that circles and talks to the firefighters on the ground. We got 3 heavy helicopters, and also we can use air tankers to come in here and try to secure this fire. Right now it's mostly backing down through that fire footprint. Where it's at right now, it had a pretty big green pocket that was left over that is kind of working its way through. This fire is not up and running. It's a low intensity. It's backing down because the fuel loading is so light. It's not like the normal forest where you got brush and grass and pine needles. There's really nothing. There's sparse grass out there. So it's going from patch to patch right now to fuel. So it's a low rate of spread. So it's moving in a couple different areas, moving to the south a little bit, and also it's moving to the north with this northwest wind and 8% humidity today. So it's trying to chug a little bit to the north on us today. We got aircraft on it right now, dumping water on it, keeping it in check. What the smoke you're seeing is what's coming from out here. So as you look west from here, this is what you're seeing. It's putting up more smoke than what it's really doing on the ground. It's still just kind of inching down the mountain, but it's putting up a lot of smoke because there's a lot of 1,000-hour, 10,000-hour fuels on the ground. So all these big logs, the trees that was standing that was killed in 2011 are now laying on the ground. So they're dry enough to burn. So that's why it's putting up a lot of smoke, because all that fuel, all that dead fuel on the ground is consuming completely right now. So also we got a couple spots that we had on the original fire when it took off on last Friday. These 2 spots, not really showing much heat at all. We're still patrolling them with air, and also we can drive up here and look off in there. So these are looking pretty good in here. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to try to do something out here on the east side. So we got a couple different plans right now we're trying to put together. So we're trying to come down this 282 road system and clean the road out and everything. Try to get that cleaned out. We got a couple more roads going to the east and also coming out of the south and tying back in. So we're trying to open up some roads out there, trying to get, so when the fire hits them roads, we're hoping it'll lay down. Or when it does hit, if it does spot across, we'll have aviation up and we can start knocking it out. Now, like I said, we're not really going to go after this with a lot of people. We're going to use aviation, but we're already going to try to open up these road systems to give us a little bit of chance and everything. Also, we're going to come back here off the 286, start evaluating this community back over here in case this fire keeps going. This is a long duration fire. Like the weather and Mike Ward said, hot and dry, we're in a drought. We can't really go get this. We would love to go in here and put this out, but it's not going to happen. So we're trying to get out in front of this thing and try to come up with some contingency lines, be prepared. I wish I could say we could put it out, but it's not. It's just that time of the year. Early in fire season, shouldn't even really have a fire this size at this time of year. So we're already going into that setup for a long year, and we're just going to try to do what we can to keep it down as much as we can, and so we can just prolong this. And right now it's setting probably 9 miles to the west of Los Alamos. So we still got a lot of country to chug through, and a lot of this country is all fire scar. So it's going to take a while. It could take a month, 2 months if it ever gets here. We don't know because it's all this fire scar. So also we have the structure group. They're coming in here. They're dedicated to structures. They're going in and assessing structures. If we see the need, we'll put up folding tanks. We'll put sprinklers up. So we're really involved in that. In here, also we're still doing assessments in here, and we'll be moving out here in front of this here in a couple of days, starting assessing even more homes. That's what we do. We like to get way out and assess. Just because we're in this community don't mean we think the fire is going to be there. We're trying to pre-plan, trying to go ahead and get it going in case it does in a month. We're already ready for it. Also, we have an IA group set up for new fires, and we did get a new fire today. We found a fire that started northwest of this fire on the national park. We jumped on that real quick, and right now it's at 5 acres, and we think we got a handle on that pretty quick today. We had aviation resources, tankers coming in. We had a bunch of resources off of our fire assisting the park and the local Santa Fe National Forest. So we're all working together and looking pretty good. Thank you.
Good evening, Jeremy Marshall, Santa Fe National Forest Agency Administrator. Just once again, thanks for the Southern Area Red Team for all their hard work out there and working with the communities. Like we've spoken to, it's really dry for this time of year, so I just ask for your patience going forward. We still have a few more months till monsoons. Santa Fe National Forest is working closely with our state and federal partners, and we're certainly unified in our vision. I would just ask that we be patient the next 24 hours in these wind events, and I'll be around to answer some questions. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jorge Silva Bañuelos. I'm the superintendent at Valles Caldera National Preserve. I'm serving as the agency administrator for both Valles Caldera and Bandelier National Monument. We're thankful right now that the fires are not threatening either park unit at this time, although we're monitoring that very closely. That's a very different situation from the first night that this started on Friday with those incredibly high winds pushing the fire in the northern direction towards Valles Caldera. Those winds started turning east, and now we're at where we're at now. Currently, we're really just in a support role for this incident command team, trying to provide whatever support we can with our offices and other things, staging areas, that sort of assistance. But as was referred to, there was a new start earlier today around 3 o'clock in an area called Free Love Canyon. I believe it's called the Free Love Canyon Fire, and it's between 3 to 5 acres or so. Probably the best thing I can say is if you have a fire starting, it's great when there's already a Type 1 team in your neighborhood that can jump on it very quickly. As I was coming over here, I saw some very large helicopters helping put some bucket drops on that area, fire retardant, so we're hopeful we can get a handle on that. But it is in an area that is near a previous burn scar, Thompson Ridge Fire from 2013. But there are some unburned fuels and forested areas in that location area. So it really just depends on how we can get a handle on it tonight and see what the winds do tomorrow. So we'll be monitoring both those fires. All I can say, this community has a very long history with fires, with the Cerro Grande in 2000, with the Las Conchas in 2011. It's really hard for me to come here and smell the smoke, see that orange color in the air and the sky. I'm hopeful that we get some moisture here soon, and I'm just very grateful that we were able to get a Type 1 team out here very quickly. A lot of the other fires in New Mexico, frankly, we're working to try to get resources like this, and thankfully we were able to find a Type 1 team to help us out here. So thank you all for being here, and I'll be available for any questions.
Hello, everybody. Lawrence Crane. I'm the acting district forester for New Mexico Forestry Division. I'm the agency administrator for this fire. My job is to make sure that the team knows where all the private land is, make sure that the resources are being used properly on the private land, help with structural assessments and different things like that. Plus, they threw me at this because of me being on Cajete, Thompson Ridge, Los Conchas, evacuated during Cerro Grande right here from Los Alamos. So I have a lot of local knowledge that will help the team out, but it's my job just to coordinate with them about what to do on private land. Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence. I'm Troy Hughes. I'm the fire chief here in Los Alamos. And first off, I want to say we're used to very high standards here in Los Alamos. And I got to first meet this Southern Area Red team on Friday, and they live up to those standards. They brought in about 60 professionals. They were out scouting the fire on Friday before they took over, or actually on Friday. You guys took over on Saturday, right? On Friday, I've lost track of what day of the week it is this week, but they took over. They were on the site, scouting the area, getting to know it, and then when they took over, it was nothing but professionalism from day one. The expectations that they give of the crews that are out on the line is second to none, and so we're very fortunate to have this team here, and just very lucky. As far as Los Alamos Fire Department being prepared, we have been part of this initial firefight out there. I think the first day or two we had only about 40 people fighting this fire. Now we're nearing 400, so we're very fortunate that they've been able to acquire resources to help us on this. We just love the partnership that we have with them. Part of that preparedness that we have here, if we look back to even Los Conchas fire, since that time, we've replaced our entire wildland fleet, and so that's 6 tenders, 6 brush engines, as well as other equipment like saws, protective gear, and everything else. And that's a credit to our wildland chief Sterna, which he was in here a minute ago, but he probably left because he knew I'd say something about him. But he's right here. He's one of the guys that's done that, and that's not possible without our partnership with DOE and the LANL. And we do have a DOE representative up here, Jordan Arnswald. Jordan, if you'd raise your hand. She's a big part of us having that equipment that we need to fight fires locally. And as I talk about preparedness for us, we completed our refresher training this year, our pack test, all the things that we can do. We've done mitigation, I think you've seen up in the North community. And so I guess we ask you as citizens to have that same level of preparedness for yourself. So we've got ready, set, go. You might want to be getting close to the set area because it's so dry in this condition right now, but at least be ready. Have all those things prepared because there may not be time when it gets to the point. I don't think this fire here is going to be the one that's going to cause that, but with the conditions that we have right now in April, we don't know when the next fire is going to be closer, and we're going to have to pull that trigger to evacuate immediately. So I'm going to ask Rich Nieto. Rich is my counterpart on the lab. He's the fire management officer for LANL. We're just super fortunate to have him. Rich has a long history in the fire service. He was a smoke jumper back, and you may know about the South Canyon fire, better known as Storm King Mountain. He was part of that group and that effort there. Advanced through his career to be a Type 1 commander like these guys, and led teams all over the nation. And now he's one of the resources that we use. And I'm going to ask Rich to come up and talk about what kind of conditions we're in now today in Los Alamos. So, Rich.
Thank you, Chief Hughes. One thing I really enjoy about working in this environment, I always adhere to the mindset that hope is not a strategy. And Chief Hughes and working with the county, the National Park Service, U.S. Forest Service, in that same vein, there's been a lot of interagency coordination relative to where we're at. And what I wanted to show you is where we're at right now and why we're getting the fire behavior that we're getting right now. If you look at what's on the slide up on top, you look at the drought condition that we've been in for almost 6 years now. We are currently, if you can go to the next slide, this is where we're at. If you look at the upper slide on the left, that is April of what we're looking at. And what that depicts, the red depicts pretty much what we're looking at for large fire behavior, for what we're looking at. So if you look at April, what we're looking at, we're trending, and you go into May and June, our area is in the red. So what we're looking at for the months of May and June is pretty much the type of behavior you're looking at until we get some significant monsoon moisture. which is not predicted to occur until early July. They're predicting a robust monsoon. Typically, we get that, but at least with the fire meteorologist for the Southwest, and the Southwest comprises of West Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. So when you look at that, what lies ahead for us, you can see the fire behavior that we're getting. Could you move to the next slide, please? And this kind of depicts the drought condition that we've been in for quite some time now. And if you can look at this slide, you'll look at we're in the extreme drought category. This has been going on for quite some time. And what you have there is basically the water content, the soil is not, it's dry. So with that said, there's not enough water content in your ponderosa pine component, your pino and juniper component, and that's why you're getting these rapid rates of growth and the fire intensity levels that you're getting. Next slide. So what I want to show you here, these are two slides. The one above is Tower, and the one at the bottom is Jemez. What Tower is a remote automated weather station. The data that you have up there is from 2003 to 2021. So when you look at that upper right column, the upper right graph that goes in the red, that's the max averages. So this is weather data that we've collected over the years, and this is what we use to give us our energy release component, which drives how high that fire is going to move, flame lengths, all that information. So if you look at Tower, we're at that 50th rank right now. We're hitting historical highs with our conditions right now. And this is why you're seeing the northern component of northern New Mexico, why we're getting these types of rapid rates of spread and the type of long-range spotting that you get in these types of fires. So, and you look at the bottom, which is Jemez, which speaks to the Jemez Ranger District, or what you have above us off to the west. They're in that max category now. So if you look at the type of behavior we had, coupled with red flag conditions, this is where you get those large plume-dominated fires that a lot of you in this community that experienced Cerro Grande and experienced Los Conchas. This is the type of rapid rates of spread you will get in these types of environments. So what I wanted to depict for all of you is what lies ahead, and to be mindful. When you get red flag warnings, that's basically telling you to be on point and to be ready for what lies ahead. In other words, like what the chief alluded to, what the ready, set, go, what that really means, to be proactive versus reactive in your ability to prepare yourselves. Because in those types of conditions that occurs in red flags, if those winds are in excess of 35, 40 miles an hour related to aircraft, they may not be able to fly based on the type of aircraft that we have. So you can get aircraft in the air, you only can get ground resources. And as the fire behavior analyst alluded to earlier, that's what you got to be mindful of, that when those days come up and you have these kind of meetings and they start giving those heads up with the county and get that information out to all of you, that's what that means. So we just wanted to depict what our current conditions are at this juncture. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. I'd like to introduce our Deputy Incident Commander, Patrick Pearson.
Good evening, everybody. Like Patrick Pearson, I'm the Deputy Incident Commander for the Southern Area Red Team. First off, like you mentioned earlier, thanks to Los Alamos High School. This is an amazing facility, and thanks for setting this up for us. It's not a huge crowd, which is a good thing, you know, right? Because actually there are like 300 people online, so I guess it is a pretty big crowd. But so they gave you the lineup, right? It's super dry. It's going to be super windy tomorrow. We're not going to be able to get out here in this burn scar, and like Pete said, we wish we could. I mean, but the life and property first standard firefighting order we have, and we're not going to be able to get out there just with the snags. We do have a lot of 3 dozers, and we are going to put the dozers out there and try and do some work for you and try and eliminate some of the smoke. I feel for you. You know, I've worked in New Mexico for a long time. I'm actually from Omaha, Nebraska right now, but lived down in Cloudcroft for a long time, and coming back to New Mexico and feel for you guys breathing the smoke for what's going to be probably, you know, a month or so. So we're going to do everything we can to get out there and get ahead of it and do some good for you. What our team does is we try and come in and work with the communities, work with the local fire departments, all our cooperators, and it's been an extremely good experience here on this fire, you know, with Los Alamos Fire Department, the U.S. Forest Service, the Park Service. Everybody has such a collaborative working relationship here, and we're not here to take over. We're here to cooperate and work with these folks and bring a little order to chaos, and that's what we do. And I think, you know, getting about 400 resources here in a short amount of time and being able to do a lot of good work all along this area of the fire has allowed us to open this community back up today and open Highway 4 back up today. So, and that's directly attributed to the work that Pete and the troops on the ground are doing. So there is some positive. I know it's a lot of smoke out there, but we're doing everything we can for sure. And then the last thing I'll close with, thank you. Last thing I'll close with is, you know, this team has a motto, you know, our zip code is here for 14 days, and then we get to leave. And y'all are left with what we leave you. And we want to make sure that, you know, you're not going to remember the fire necessarily, but you're going to remember what the red team did and how the red team made you feel. So if you're not getting any not getting the information you need, make sure you reach out to our public information officers, our liaison officers, and we want to get all the information that y'all need as soon as you need it. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. All right, what we'll do for questions and answers is if you have a question, please raise your hand, and then we're going to ask you to come down to one of the two microphones out front. Also, our speakers will be available after the presentation. So if there's something, you know, if you don't feel comfortable asking it in front of everybody, we should be able to take care of that after the presentation. So let's get started Q&A. Sir, could you go ahead and come down? And if you do, I'll just ask you, if you do have a question, you can go ahead and just maybe slide across and be ready in the queue to line up with the microphone. Okay, technology once again. We're going to turn that microphone on for you.
Hello, thank you. My name is Paul Martinez. I live up in Sierra Los Pinos, so I want to thank you guys, everybody, for saving our homes. My question is, because I was kind of looking at the maps and stuff, is there any idea how this fire started? I came in late, so I might have missed that. But
Peter? Yeah. Okay. I can answer that one for you. The fire is listed as undetermined, so no, we don't have an idea yet.
okay, well, thank you. It just seemed like it was close to one of the roads, like started off the road maybe. So I was wondering if maybe somebody was up there or something.
Yeah, we actually do have a fire investigator that just got on scene yesterday, so he is doing investigations. The power line also has an investigator on scene, so hopefully we'll have a cause determination here shortly.
Okay, so once again, thank you guys for what you do.
Could you come down to the microphone, ma'am? And I'm going to have a race here. I'll have you go on the right first, and you can go ahead, and then we'll have you go. Okay? Nope. Okay, she's there first. She won.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Sarah DeMay. I live on Forest Road 289, which is I'm about 2 miles off State Road 4, but that's how you get to Cochiti Mesa. And I guess my question is, do you have like any trigger points for Cochiti Mesa, just because they're out there and not too far, and then just based on what you guys have seen in how it's burning in the burn scar so far and the forecast, I mean, what do you think's going to happen out there tomorrow and over the weekend?
A great question. So I'll answer your first one, trigger points. So we're in the process of what we're calling management action points. So we'll put lines on the map, like this yellow line on this map is a management action point. So what that tells us if the fire gets to that point, we'll have an action. It could be evacuate the community, close 4, Highway 4 down, evacuate all residents off of 289. So yes, so we are setting up trigger points, what we call management action points at this time for everything all the way over here and everything. So that's what we do. We just haven't made it that far. We're concentrating close, and now we're starting to move out for future reference. So what I think the fire is going to do, to this fire scar, it's going to do what it's doing right now, skunking around over the next couple of days with this humidity at 9%, the wind's strong tomorrow, then switching back to the southwest, 10 to 12. We'll see just how much it's really going to go. It's hard to determine because all of our fuel models that we got, we don't have a fuel model for a burn scar that's 11 years old because it's all the fuels is all different throughout that landscape. Some of it got burnt hot in 2011, some of it didn't. So it's going to react differently when it hits that pocket of fuel, and then when it hits a area with no fuel, it's going to hold it up. So it's hard to tell. We can give you what we think, but it's not perfect. And so it's going to move. It's going to continue moving to this fire scar until we get a good enough rain, or where it gets to hit real good black, it'll go out.
Okay, so good evening. I'm Diane Crane. I live up in the Rancho de la Cueva subdivision where the Free Love fire was. That's my backyard, literally. So thank you for pulling the resources from the one fire to that one to save my community. My question is, with New Mexico 4 opening, the notice that came out said that it was going to be for local traffic only. How is that being monitored? Because I've gotten a lot of reports of people going up and just setting up chairs on the Valles Caldera to watch the fire, people with out-of-state license plates, people with drones. So, I mean, how is that being maintained? I have my driver's license in my pocket ready to show where I live. So how is that being checked?
So unfortunately, it's not being monitored. So we put that out there, and everybody knows it's on the honor system. We have asked State Patrol and the Sheriff's Office to do enhanced patrols. Right. Right. So, like I said, we're not monitoring it. We just don't have the resources to monitor it. But I would love to be able to say, we're checking, but honestly, we're not. And hopefully if Highway 4 becomes impacted, or we're having a lot of impact on Highway 4, we will have to shut it down again. So we're not going to risk firefighter safety and by a bunch of looky-loos out there looking at the fire. So, but just to be honest with you, we're not.
I just wanted to add one thing to that. Both the Forest Service, Valles Caldera, and Bandelier have various closures in place to try to reduce the draw of non-local residents from coming up here. Again, it may not be completely successful, but currently Valles Caldera is closed. The Jemez Ranger District south of Valles Caldera and to the west of Valles Caldera is also closed, and the backcountry of Bandelier is closed. So all of those we're hoping will, at this point, try to reduce the number of people coming up to recreate.
May I recommend that putting barriers across the pull-offs? Because that's where people are stopping, is at the pull-offs. Maybe put barriers across there so that way the people can't pull in there and set up their family picnics.
I'll definitely take that back. They've started to put barriers at various day use areas in the forest, so we'll look at that at Valles Caldera as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Jeremy Marshall once again. And also, the Jemez Ranger District is essentially closed from the Highway 4 east and also 376. So a large portion of it, probably 80% of it, plus or minus, is closed currently. So.
Okay, we are receiving some questions online. So I'm just going to start off with this one that's up right now. Can we get a quick recap on what's expected tomorrow? Missed it due to audio problems.
So for tomorrow's weather, it's going to be winds increasing. We do have a red flag warning for tomorrow. So it's going to be increasing for sustained winds, 20 miles an hour, gusts up to 35 to 40 over the ridges. We do have a cold front coming through, a dry cold front coming through tomorrow, and that's going to be coming through the area about noon, between noon and 2 o'clock. And those winds are going to shift from the west, southwest to northwest. So that's going to push the fire in a totally different direction than it's been pushed in the past few days. So that's what is expected tomorrow, and it just continued dry with that cold front. No, it might back off the temperatures a few degrees, but not much except for wind.
And in a previous question, it was mentioned people are flying drones. I want to let everybody know that it is illegal to fly drones in the fire area. There is a temporary flight restriction over the fire, and under a flight restriction, it is controlled airspace. So that is a definite no-no and illegal activity. And unfortunately, if drones are seen flying in the area, we have to shut down our air operations, and that could have a very negative impact. So we will make sure that that is advertised. Will you fly any aircraft tomorrow based on predicted winds?
So our helicopters can fly probably in about 35 mile an hour winds. So it's predicted at 40 tomorrow. So we'll probably have our aviation shut down tomorrow due to winds, because they're flying at 7,000 or 8,000 feet. So if it's 40 on the ground, it's probably 50 up there. So we'll probably have our aircraft shut down, but we'll see tomorrow morning. We're not saying they're shut down right now. We'll wake up in the morning, we'll see what the wind does. If we can get up before it gets too high, we will. If not, it's all about safety. So we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, and there's a question for Los Alamos area. Are we in any stage of ready, set, go? Maybe ready. I think a lot of us are getting ready anyway. Just curious. Chief?
Yes, like I said earlier, this particular fire is not an immediate threat to us because of the fuels that it's in, but we definitely want people to be ready. That's where we need to be, and we can't stress that enough. And again, following the closures for the Santa Fe National Forest, that's put in there for a reason, the drones, and we can kind of all align with that, get ready, and follow the direction given by the forest, and I think we'll be better prepared to handle this fire.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions in the audience here? Okay, we'll go back to our live. What flame retardants are being used? Is there any residual contamination from that?
So a good question. We have used what we call fire retardant that's dropped out of airplanes, but it is biodegradable. It's not harmful to the plants and stuff. So we try to keep it out of the watersheds, out of the creeks, but it's not really that harmful to the environment. So we use that. Also, we're trying to get water airplanes, what we call scoopers, water scoopers. They come in, they land on the lake, scoop up water, and come out. So we're looking at trying to get them and use them instead of retardant and everything.
And then we have one. What are the chances the fire will get to Cochiti Lake and Cochiti Pueblo that we will be evacuated?
Yeah, I should. That's okay. So be honest with you, it all depends. Northwest winds tomorrow, it's going to push this fire this way, and then it's going to turn back to the west or southwest. So there always is a chance. So I'm not going to say it's going to do it or not, but we're going to be prepared for it. In just case wherever it goes, we're going to try to get there and be there before it gets there. So there's always a chance.
Hold on, boss. I think I got another one for you. There's another question. If you're familiar with Forest Road 268, are you going to do any dozer work down into Bland Canyon?
Right now, we're looking at different roads, and I think the fire is backing off of Woodward Ridge right now, down in the Fraser Canyon, kind of close to Bland Canyon. So we got some roads up in there. We got approved through our archaeologists in our Forest Service reading, Jeremy, to get in there and open them roads up. So if we see there's a need to go ahead and put some dozer lines in to cut the fire off, we'll look at it and decide. But right now, there's no plans, but that could change.
Okay. Is White Rock in a ready, set, go position? Ready. Okay. Chief Hughes says White Rock is in a ready position at this point. All right. We're going to take one more online question, and I just want to let you folks on Zoom know that we will record your questions, and if you have questions, we're going to do our best to get back to you via email. For those here in the audience, like I said, our speakers will be available after we're done. So last question is, my family has 10 structures on Fire Road 282E, just east of Fire Road 280, where the small spot fire is located. Are there water tanks on our property now? We are worried about the spot fire.
I got my own. Look at that.
I forgot.
I'm going to take this home with me. So, yeah, so this morning I got my structure specialist, grabbed a couple engines, got a couple of the folding tanks that holds water, 1,000 gallons, 1,500 gallons. Where that's located, there's not a lot of water sources. So we took our water tanks up there. We'll fill them up for future water sources in case that fire does come down around them homes. We'll have water there. So, yes, there are water tanks there.
Thank you. All right, we're going to wrap it up, but first, I just want to thank you all who are live here in person for attending and our Zoom audience for attending. We realize this is a stressful time, and as it was mentioned by Chief Nieto, it's only April. So I just want to encourage everybody to study up, be ready, monitor the information you need. And that's what we're here for as information officers. And I want to let you know that we have several sources that you can find your information at. Regarding the Cerro Pilado fire, there is a site called INCIWeb. Just show of hands, who's familiar with INCIWeb? Okay, it's INCI, like the first letters of incident, and web, W-E-B. If you'd like to search it, that is maintained. That site is personally maintained by our public information officers staffing this fire now. If you do a Google search, INCIWeb, Cerro Pilado, it will take you directly to that page, and you can get up-to-date information. We're also maintaining a Facebook page. It has a little more flexibility on it. We can post video, and we have a very robust posting on that page. We do our best to tell the story because we want you to have the information you need to make good, sound decisions regarding the actions you may need to take. The Santa Fe National Forest Twitter site is available, and we've been using that. And finally, if you'd like to talk to a person, we have live people available to speak with from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and the number is 505-312-4593. Now that number is listed on our INCI website should you need it. We will do our best. We will be speaking, our fire management will be speaking with Los Alamos County, and should there be a need for another meeting here, that certainly will happen. But like I said, those other sites will be available. I think that's it. Thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate you all, and thank you to all our speakers. Our speakers will be available if you'd like to come up and ask them any questions in person. We have some maps available on the wall there. Thanks for being here tonight.